Greetings, Purdue engineers. I wanted to catch up a little bit on what we missed out in class. We did some really valuable stuff around getting your submitting to Gradescope it going, but we didn't get as much chance to look at a few of the exercises. So the first one that I wanted to mention, it was the syntax and semantic error question. So let me actually bring up, and I'll show you which one I'm talking about here. The practice fixing syntax and semantic errors, if you want to get this additional practice. I downloaded the file. For those of you who are working locally, if you double click a MATLAB file, it should open it straight away into MATLAB. For those of you working through Citrix, working on a remote machine, you might just need to create a new script, and that's what I'm going to do to show you that path. And then you just copy and paste it in. So I can right click. I don't have it. Oh, I do not have it here pasted. So let me go back to the file and I will show that process as well. I'm going to my downloads folder here. And so in my downloads folder, I have debugerror.m. If I double click it, you notice there's a MATLAB logo here. It'll open up. If you don't have that MATLAB logo, you can always open it with Notepad. That's always an option. And open up my other screen because I have two monitors. So I can copy then and then paste that into a new script and get started if I'm working on Citrix. So when I go through that, I hit Control S right there if you were just curious what happened. I have a number of compiler errors that show up with these little red lines. And then there's some semantic errors down here. Static semantic errors is what they're calling it here because they're things that'll pop up right away when you try and run it. And so one of the first learning tasks you have to do is get used to what this is supposed to look like. And to be able to do that, it's helpful to get used to what these error messages look like and mean. So it says invalid syntax at semicolon in quotes dot a might be missing a closing parenthesis is what it's saying. So it's essentially saying it's trying to do a vector. Don't understand the syntax. I'm not sure what you tried to mean. It's really confusing. It's like the example, if you remember in class today, where I gave you that big gobbledygook message. That was actually a semantic error, but it can't understand the lack of punctuation. So in this case, that error doesn't really mean a whole lot. It doesn't really help me solve the problem. And this example is a little bit rough because I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know what vec is, but I'm guessing they're making a vector. And I can cut to the chase. The answer here is vectors are accessed. You go and access a element in the vector using parentheses, but you create them using square brackets. So I think that's going to fix the problem. And the red lines went away, so it probably did fix the problem there by putting square brackets in. All right, so the next one is the right syntax in that this is going to vector the second row in the first column, and it's equal 7. But the difference here is this is math notion where the two sides of it don't matter. 7 is equal to 3 plus 4, or 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. The name for the transmutability, I don't remember the property. You've had math more recently than I have. But the point being is if I change this to it's equal to 7, sorry, I keep hitting Control S, let's have it. On the other side, then that error goes away. By the way, as I mentioned, this is one of the reasons why you don't keep coding when you see errors, is because I can't test it until I fix all of the problems at that point. When I keep hitting Control S, I want to save it and run it and make it all happy, but I can't do that because I got to fix all these errors first. All right, so the next area is equal to 1/2 times 5 times the cosine of 45. I don't entirely know what this formula means off the top of my head, but when I look at this, it says invalid syntax at the end of the line. Parenthesis might be missing a closing parenthesis. So this is a tricky thing in coding. Parentheses always must be paired. So these two parentheses are paired. And then these two parentheses are paired. And then this little parenthesis is missing a lonely pal out there. And we can pair that, and that should make that go away. Oops, again, I hit Control S again. And then the last one here, it says val 24, square root of 24, parse error at end of line usage might be invalid MATLAB syntax. the colon means nothing right here. Perhaps they meant to put a semicolon, but just take the colon out, and I think that'll fix that one. So now we have no compiler errors. We can run it, in which case it's going to ask us to save it. And I will say this will be my fix example. I'll save it as that, and then it'll run it. And then we can see, I got an error down below, but up at the top it seems to work. So it gave us a vector of 1, 5, 2, 6. It changed one value in the vector. Oh, I had a semicolon at the end there, which is why it didn't show that one. It already had a semicolon, didn't show that one. The area it calculated to be that number, you can do the math if you want to check it. The value it calculated here is the square root of 24, is just under 5. That makes sense. Unrecognized variable vector 1. So these couple from the example that they provided for us in the slides, a little bit more confusing because I don't know which vector they actually mean right here. There's no context for that. But the point of this exercise is saying there is no variable vector 1. It hasn't been defined. If I said to you, go turn the slarbit on the schnappel, I'm just making up words, you wouldn't know what that means because neither of those mean anything. I need to use real words, and in code we define the real words. So I did define vec before. So that's what's meant by a semantic error. Semantic error is the meaning of the word. You didn't use the meaning. Many languages would pick that up as a syntax error because you hadn't defined it beforehand. MATLAB doesn't. So if I run it again, that one goes away. It doesn't recognize the variable square root. You can't just make them up as you want to do it. You either have to use sqrt, so that theoretically will work if I run it. So that did fix that problem. Or you can put things to the 1/2 power. That's actually, I like to prefer to do it that way just because it keeps everything the same if it's square root or cube root or whatever it's going to be. So the last one here, it's saying index in position 2 exceeds the array bounds, must not exceed 1. So it's a vector at 3, 4. So if you picture this as a table, it's going down 3 rows over 4 columns. But when we defined vec, it's only a single column. So I can't go down 3 and over 4. I can only at most go over 1. And so that will fix that problem. The thing that's nice about this example is it shows us a lot of little common mistakes that you can make while writing code. The two things I don't love about this example is there's no context. What does it mean? I don't know what I did when it was all of that. So that's why there's other examples I hope that you'll look at as well. And the other thing I don't really love about this is it's that bad habit. Don't keep writing code with errors in it. Fix each line so you can run it and test it and make sure each line works as you go.